remembering the lives lost on September 11th. It's actually happening locally here too.
That's right, and Claudia is in Jackson right now at the Cascade Falls 9/11 Memorial to talk about the events taking place this afternoon. Hi, Claudia.
Rochelle, it's the day that Americans vowed to never forget, and that's why 22 years later, the Tunnel of Towers Foundation is keeping that conversation going. And here with me is the event director, Jan Genzel, to tell us about the work that they do to keep that memory alive, especially on days like today. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for being here.
And, you know, it's such an emotional day. We were just talking about that. And you continue to keep this legacy going. But in Jackson, we actually have an interesting piece of that day here with us. So, you know, to the left of us, tell me about what we're standing by here.
So we're standing by an outside girder of tower number 2 that came down. And it's a pretty significantly large piece of history there. But that was one of the structures that held up one of those trade towers. And when it came down, it was found about 40 feet underground. We managed to bring it back here to Jackson and put it here to rest for people to remember. It's important because, I mean, this is Michigan. We're so far away from New York.
Yeah.
And to be able to have this here, it reminds us every day of what happened 22 years ago.
Yeah, and we were also talking about how, you know, you sometimes, depending on where you go, you can see pieces of the World Trade Center, but this one is particularly big.
Yeah, we're quite proud of that. It's I think it's pretty rare to find one this intact and this large, and so for us to have it, we feel pretty special.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about how, you know, it was 22 years ago, so kids in school learning about it, you know, weren't alive. It used to be, oh, they don't remember, but now it's actually they weren't alive. Why is it so important for pieces like this to be in Jackson, for people to actually never forget?
Well, you know, we made a promise back then. We weren't going to forget. We had 3,000 American citizens from all over this country lost their lives. And yeah, there were the first responders, there were the police officers, firefighters, but don't forget we had people on those planes. We had, and families all over were affected. And so to be able to do things like this across the country, you know, it takes it from just a New York thing and it reminds you this was an attack on our country, not just New York. So these are important for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you know, we always say the phrase never forget, like we said, but how is the Tunnel of Towers Foundation making sure that doesn't happen through the work you do?
So, you know, we have a number of programs that we do, but we're most known for is we do 5K runs and walks and tower climbs all throughout the country. And when we do that, we're following in the footsteps of firefighters who ran to the towers before they collapsed to save people. So we honor them by following in their footsteps. We raise money to take care of those that have fallen, taking care of their country, whether it be catastrophically wounded vets, first responders killed in the line of duty, or our military service people. And all of that is done in their name to remember not just what happened on 9/11, but everything since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the people behind this work, it's obviously important to you, and it's important to all Americans, but why is it so important to you personally?
I grew up in New York. I was born and raised there, and I actually lost 2 high school classmates on September 11th. One of them I wear on my shirt today, Darrell Pearsall, we called him Dusty. He was a firefighter with FDNY, and he lost his life when the towers came down. And then another classmate, Mark Kaleo, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald, and he lost it as well when it came down. So for me, and being a first responder myself, I was on a job here in Michigan when 9/11 happened, and being a native New Yorker, I needed to do something. I needed to be part of it, and this is my way of keeping that promise.
Yeah, well, you certainly are keeping that promise well, and, you know, inviting the community to, you know, never forget as well.
Yeah.
So thank you for all that you do. And we are going to talk a little bit about that event you guys have later on tonight. So stick around. We are going to head back to the studio for now with Nicole and Rochelle, but you're going to want to stick around because you're going to want to hear this and how you can participate in never forgetting as well. Rochelle?